Get Football Academy Trials Easy Steps. In my work life I have met many people that have suggested I help other not in the clique parents and children achieve a similar result as we achieved for my son. Forget the clubs you play for. In my son's case he played almost every minute until the days the scouts were present. Looking back now, 16 years later I can understand why. You see, at the time our ancestry was not aligned with visas for the UK. Yes, we could have tried other European clubs, but amongst other things there was a language barrier issue there. I was lucky that my son also did well at school and we kept a balanced head on his shoulders and we had a plan B. A non-football career. This is because we knew that no matter how good we thought he was, there was a long gap from being a 14-year-old to playing football for a living. It will help to understand our backstory. At 2 years of age my son was on the sideline with me watching his older brother playing. He was already using both left and right feet. When almost 5 he started playing in the local teams. We played in our local club for too many years before trialling for representative teams. To assist him and reassure him of his ability, he attended a school holiday football camp. Well worth it, and he came back with an even greater desire. Tip 1 from the start, guide them to use both feet. This helps a lot in later years and gives the coaches more options for positions. In our case he ended up in centre midfielder, sweeper and centre back. Tip 2. Get information about your local soccer camps and select the best one. Not attending the representative trials 2 years earlier made it that much harder later, as the coaches then mainly divided up the kids based on the level they played last. Luckily though, another parent had seen my son play and got him looked at seriously, and so he did make the representative side at a young age. Tip 3. Find out what ages your representative teams start and get them ready for these trials. My son was asked to trial for a club that we had long sought to be part of. He was asked to train with last year's team for 3 weeks prior to actual trial days so that the coach could better assess his abilities. Impress he did. On the day of the trials, having turned down "we will sign him up on the spot" offers from other higher-ranked clubs, on the first of 3 days, he was selected and we paid the deposit. However, 3 days after trials had completed, he was cut. The player whose position he had been selected for was back in. I won't go into what or why this happened, as it's only hearsay. You can imagine how heartbreaking and demoralizing this can be on a young player. Many of you may have had similar stories. From here, all the other club trials had completed their trials. He ended up playing in the next level down as captain. In the end he and the team had a great year. I knew he was as good as any of the best youth players out there. My son, when we discussed whether he was good enough or not, all he ever said was, "It doesn't matter what coaches or parents do about getting selected, the players know." He meant the other teams and players knew if a player should or shouldn't be there based on ability. If you are a parent of a football player, please keep this in mind as you make your way through those years. To get an independent assessment of him and to use up my forced leave, I started to arrange trials in the UK. If nothing else, we would get to see some of the UK. To my surprise, it was relatively easy. Before we left to go over, we had a handful of Premier or top-level UK clubs reply to say that they will give us 1 day and go from there. By the time left we had agreed to start with Burnley, that had that year made it back to the Premier League. Then we had Newcastle and West Ham as backups. We also agreed to see Glasgow Rangers in the last of our 3-week trip regardless of what else happened. Plus I want to see some of Scotland. When we arrived at Burnley, it was like a wonderland for us both. He trained with the team on day 1 and at the end they asked us to stay for as long as we could. During this time my son was treated as though he was always part of the group, one of the team. The coach loved him and used him as a centre and mid-model for his team. He even won the goalpost shootout, or whatever they call it, beating their number 1 player. The coach even managed to arrange a game day against another club and had my son in his starting side. All of this confirmed he was as good as I thought he was. To top it off, the team and their lawyers even tried to get a visa for him to stay. This of course was unsuccessful as our ancestry was not part of the EU yet. The experience with Glasgow Rangers was similarly amazing and uplifting for my son's spirits. Despite not being able to join a UK academy, it was an amazing and uplifting experience. When we returned, my son never doubted his ability and that his ability warranted him being in any of the teams that followed. Obviously, receiving a team kit, all the tourist attractions and attending some of the Premier League games we went on were also a bonus. All that said, our main focus was to get an independent assessment of my son's ability and hence overcome the negativity with our local clubs, selection criteria and coaches. Mission accomplished. Don't pay thousands of dollars for a group tour. I am not offering coaching ideas, however, if you are in a similar situation and feel you or your child would like to get a trial with clubs and are interested, then we can discuss the few simple steps to test the water. I am happy to share examples of the CV and Excel spreadsheet of the clubs we used at the time. I may even be able to do much of the work for you at a small cost, but if you have some time and a little effort you can work it out yourself. Tip for this is one of 2 YouTube links that was sent through to the clubs at the time.
All-Star. All-Star. All-Star.